Hello gamers. Today we are going to be talking about Blazblue Crosstag, a game developed by Arc System Works that was released years back. Let's just skip the pleasantries and get straight into the problem with Crosstag. But before we get into the video, I've noticed the majority are not subscribed to the channel, and I have to thank you so much. I'm getting closer and closer to reaching my 0 subscriber goal, and it would really help me out if all of you unsubscribe. Anyway, without further ado, the problem with Crosstag. There are a lot of reasons why a person would want to play a fighting game, either for fun, flashy gameplay, learning what your moves do with different strategies, character design, mashing buttons, etc. However a person prefers their fighting games is subjective. Whether the game is more grounded, anime, or 3D for example, there's plenty enough that one might think that they would appeal to all sorts of people interested in the genre. Except apparently they don't. Throughout the years, companies have been making fighting game franchises more and more easier to pick up over time for accessibility, which is of course not a bad thing, as it allows for more people to play overall. But when the changes come at the cost of making things in the genre lose their sense of reward, and also take out what's even satisfying about it, then there is definitely an issue that I'm going to try to discuss, and how Blazblue Crosstag had the worst possible end of this. To start off, one important thing for any fighting game is the function of buttons. This is obviously a no-brainer, but what I mean by this is that the set amount of buttons that are given access to the player changes the way the game feels and the moves that you're able to utilize in different scenarios. Fighting games such as Street Fighter and Killer Instinct go up to 6 attack buttons, which ranges from light to medium to heavy for punches and kicks. Guilty Gear has 5 buttons: punch, kick, slash, heavy slash, and dust. King of Fighters has 4 buttons for light and heavy punches and kicks, removing the medium variants that are present in Street Fighter and Killer Instinct. Marvel vs. Capcom has 4 buttons while also having 2 buttons for assist attacks. Under Night and Birth generally uses 3 buttons, with the 4th one being used as a resource. The amount of buttons is not indicative of quality right off the bat, as these fighting games are designed with different moves and systems and the goal of facilitating a type of gameplay that it's going for. So what about Crosstag then? Well, Crosstag has a total of 3 attack buttons, dubbed A, B, and C, with C in this game standing for Clash Assault, or according to this, Crush Assault. That leaves the final face button, D, which is used for switching, which is very unusual for tag games. Usually switching would be done by pressing both square and cross, for example. Also, yes, I am calling this cross PlayStation as shapes, not letters, I am right. I'm sorry. Finally, there's the partner skill, which functions kind of like an assist attack in Marvel vs. Capcom. So how do these buttons help facilitate the gameplay of Crosstag? Well, bringing up the buttons all these fighting games have, as you can see, they have all sorts of different combos through the moves given for all sorts of ways to play in neutral. What does Blazblue Crosstag have? If you want the problem with Crosstag, here it is. The game is so automated that even dashing is done for you in this game. You know, originally the input where you just tap forward twice. To explain why this is such a bad thing, in the attempt to fix something that isn't broken, they've completely changed the combo system and simplified normals to a terrible degree. The game has 3 total attack buttons, but A and B are not conventional normals like light or medium attack, for example. Not even the layout labels them as such. They're labeled as smart combos instead. Which by repeatedly pressing one of these buttons, it automatically does several normals leading to a combo for you, which is definitely cringe. However, in all fairness to Crosstag, it wasn't the first Blazblue game to implement auto combos. That would be Blazblue Continuum Shift, released in 2009. Starting with that game, there was an alternative mode at the character select screen called Stylish Mode. This was a mode recommended for new players by doing combos and specials for you, without the use of specific inputs. All you had to do was press A and B, for example, which at the very least was a toggle in that game. The Guilty Gear Xrd series also had this, for example. Persona 4 Arena was the main ArcSys fighting game that popularized the use of auto combos that could not be turned off, With that game, pressing the A button repeatedly would perform a set of normals to form a combo that you weren't able to do otherwise with the buttons given to you. Undying Birth also had auto combos you could not turn off, but with that game, you could do the combo with the normals given to you. Despite the lack of being able to jab multiple times in a row even if you wanted to, what's so bad about auto combos? I think the reasons for implementing them are inherently flawed, and go against the point of playing a fighting game. Now again, as mentioned earlier, how people like their fighting games is subjective. However, isn't there a reason why fighting games tend to have a steep learning curve? Learning what your normals and specials do, or what links into what, or all these ways you can convert off one hit is one of the biggest parts of a fighting game, is it not? So why put in something intended for new players that throws all of that out the window, and encourages repeatedly pressing one button without the timing of a link at all? Well, according to different sources containing interviews with the creator and producer Mori Toshimichi, he wanted to use cross-tag as what they learned from Stylish Mode and use it as the entire combo system, to not only draw in newcomers, but also according to Kotaku, so I'm not sure if this is true or not or simply mistranslated, but according to Kotaku, Mori explained that his impetus for reducing complexity in Blazblue cross-tag battle was to reduce the gap between Japanese and non-Japanese players in competition. He also said in one interview that he didn't want this to be a permanent solution going forward, but something he was using for this game in particular. Either way, auto combos, in my opinion, is one of, if not the biggest problem with cross-tag. So this final segment is just going to be interviewing a pro Blazblue cross-tag player. I'm not going to disclose his name because of privacy reasons, but yeah. So I'm interviewing a top-level Blazblue player here. So what would you say are the positives of cross-tag?
Women. I like women. Yeah, they're cool.
Okay, yeah, very good. So do you think Ruby should exist?
No, I hate Ruby. I hate Ruby. Get that shit out of here. No, I hate Ruby.
That is probably, like, I think everyone can agree on that. And finally, what do you think they can improve on in the future?
Don't make the game. Just make God Hand. You know, God Hand actually is a awesome beat 'em up game.
And that about wraps up that interview. I hope you guys got some insight and learned something from this video. And hopefully I can catch you in the next one.